Hello everyone, welcome to VIDEET Education. Here we come with a video on reading comprehension. Okay, now what is the most important thing about reading comprehension? It is a question that has maximum weightage. Okay, so hence if we are prepared well for this question, we can contribute a good number of marks to our English section. Now the answers, these are the important points about this particular question. The question that has the maximum weightage, okay, and the answers are right in front of you. Only what is important, we have to develop a strategy, okay, to find out those answers. So here in this video we are going to discuss some of the strategies and can be solved in less time with good practice, as we in our sessions practice, at least try to practice 30 questions. That gives a good amount of practice with all which are from all the genres, right? So it gives a good amount of practice about how to go with the passages and how to find out the answer, how to decipher the passage, try to understand the meaning of the passage and the strategy. So today we have come up with a short passage, okay? So there is a different strategy for short passage as well as long passage. If the passage is short, then it is advised that you read the passage first, okay? And if it is long, then it is advised that you read the questions first. But yes, it's completely based on your own comfort. If you are comfortable reading the passage first, that is the best thing. But if the passage, as they are quite tricky, if you want to read the questions first and then go through the passage, then that's fine. It's completely up to your comfort and convenience. So here we have a passage. I have taken a moderate passage, which is not that small and not that big as well. So here the very first thing is read the passage, okay, with full attention. Okay, so we'll just read the passage and see what speed we have to maintain. Okay, so I'm reading the passage. It's about culture, a beautiful passage which is based on culture. Okay, culture is the cultivation of a plant or garden, not the eradication of its roots. It is an understanding of the roots and seeds, their patient care and instructed nourishment. Culture is not knowledge, nor is it art. Still less is its acquaintance with literature and art. By culture, I mean first of all what the anthropologists mean, the way of life of a particular people living together in one place. That culture is made visible in their arts, in their social system, in their habits and customs, in their religion. It is an aggregate of customs, institutions, manners, standards, tastes, morals, and beliefs. Now, these are transmitted rather by the family than by the school. Hence, when family life fails to play its part, we must expect our culture to deteriorate. It's a delusion to think that the maladies of the modern world can be put right by a system of instruction. On the contrary, universal education, by lowering standards, morals, and tastes to a common denominator, and by sharpening the wits rather than disciplining character, tends to break down existing checks and balances. Education should be the drawing forth of potential values. It should not be the destruction of the safeguards that tradition places around young egos naturally inclined to willful and precarious flights. So I'm done with the reading. When you read it for the first time, now see, this passage is between moderate and difficult level. Okay, so little bit, it's not that difficult and impossible to understand, but yes, it is between moderate and difficult. So we'll read it again. Now while reading it second time, we'll try to understand its meaning. Okay, so culture, so we have come to know, we have got the rough idea about what it is. It is talking about the culture and the how culture can be nourished. Okay, so the culture is the cultivation of a plant or a garden, okay, not the eradication of its roots. So culture actually is cultivation of plant and garden, and it's not eradication of its roots. Okay, so this is metaphor is used for culture. What is the metaphor? Plants and its roots. So it is an understanding of the roots and seeds. Now roots means the depth of the culture, the origin of the culture. Okay, so you should understand the metaphorical language. And seeds means its passing from generation to generation, okay, from one generation to another generation. That is possible only through its seed. So seed represents how it passes from one generation to the other. Their patient care and instructed nourishment, okay. So what is culture? It needs patient care and instructed nourishment as well. Culture is not knowledge. Now see, specifically the author has said that culture is not knowledge, nor is it art. Still less is its acquaintance with literature and art. This means that culture is less seen in literature and art. Whose literature? In our literature and in our art. Yes, obviously this culture is seen less in our literature, literary writings, and in our art. Okay. So by culture, I mean first of all what the anthropologists mean. Anthropologists are the people who study the evolution of mankind, right? So what do they mean? The way of life of particular people living together in one place, okay? Here, that culture is made visible in their arts. Culture is seen in their arts, in their social system of people, in their habits, in their customs, in their religion. Okay, culture is very clearly seen in all these factors. Okay, so it is an aggregate of customs. What is culture? Culture is an aggregate. So don't forget that what is the central idea of the passage? Culture. So everything connecting, this is the main idea of the passage. Okay, this is the main idea of the passage, and the rest all are supporting ideas. What they are known as? Supporting ideas. Okay, so please stick to the main idea. So culture is what? An aggregate of customs, institutions, even marriage is an institution, manners, standards, tastes, morals, beliefs. If you think in depth, you can relate everything to this. Okay, like customs are based on culture, our institution based on culture, even our manners like respecting females, even our standards are based on culture, our tastes are based on culture, our moral behavior is based on culture, our belief system is based on culture. Okay, that's what the author wants to say. Now these are transmitted rather by the family than by the school. Culture is transmitted by the family rather than by school. Hence, yes, obviously, we do not learn about our culture in school. Okay, we learn it from the family. So, hence, when family life fails to play its part, we must expect our culture to deteriorate. This is the opinion of the author, right? No doubt, we have the glimpses of culture in our education also, but this is the opinion of the author that culture is transmitted more by family rather than by school. It is a delusion. Delusion means a wrong thinking belief system to think that the maladies means sickness or illness of modern world can be put right. Okay, means whatever default or defect is there in the world, modern world, that can be corrected, put right by a system of instruction, like we have education system. So on the contrary, universal education by lowering standards, morals and taste to a common denominator. Okay, on the contrary, what is universal education doing? Lowering standards, our morals, our taste to a common denominator, and by sharpening the wits. It's sharpening our wits, means knowledge, intelligence. It's sharpening our intelligence. Like suppose we are going ahead rather than disciplining character, but our character is not upgraded, right? It's in fact that is what the author wants to say. Our character is not disciplined, tends to break down existing checks and balances. So existing checks and balances in the society is breaking down. Education should be the drawing forth of potential values. It should not be the destruction of the safeguards. What is the author saying? That education should be drawing forth, okay, means progress of potential values of an individual. It should not be the destruction of the safeguards that traditional places. The tradition has placed certain safeguards, but this education, present education system, the author implies is not safeguarding, it is destroying. Okay, the tradition places around young egos naturally inclined to willful and precarious flights, means dangerous flights, means the present education system, the author implies that the present education system, instead of safeguarding our tradition, it is putting our young egos, our youth, into natural, willful, and dangerous flights. Okay, so we'll move towards the question. The very first, now we have read the passage twice and understood it well, okay? But still, we'll read at the questions, look at the options, and then we'll consider all the options and then compare it, see whether it is there in the passage. And one very important thing, always follow the author, okay? Though we have our own knowledge, but while solving the passage, RCs, we don't have to apply that. Okay, we have to use it to understand the passage for inference, for drawing inference, but we have to check whether it is mentioned by the author. That is very essential. We have to follow the author strictly. So the writer uses the term culture to refer to the cultivation of a plant or garden by a community, one's acquisition of knowledge, the way of life of particular people living together in one place, one's acquaintance with literature and art. So the writer uses culture to refer the cultivation of a plant or a garden? No. One's acquisition of knowledge? No, culture is not about acquisition of knowledge. The way of life of particular people together living in one place. Once, okay, we can consider this. One's acquaintance with literature and art? No. So here if we see, the author has very clearly mentioned by culture, I mean first of all what the anthropologists mean, the way of life of particular people living together in one place, right? So this answer is supported by the passage, so we take this answer. Next, the passage suggests that universal education is in fact, universal education, we had this word in the passage if you remember, is in fact aggravating the existing problems of the modern world, or is the solution to the problems in the modern world, would prevent us from transmitting culture to the future generation, or would help retain the cultural values. We can see the lines which mentioned over here. On the contrary, universal education by lowering standards, by lowering morals, tastes, and common denominator. Okay, so here we can, it is implied that lowering means actually it is aggravating, increasing our problems. So hence we can say that this is the correct answer. We can see other, consider others also, like universal education is the solution to the problems in modern world? No. Would prevent us from transmitting culture to the future generation? No. Universal education is cannot do, this is not mentioned in the passage. Would help retain cultural values? No. In fact, the author is little bit critical about the present education system and skeptical also whether it will safeguard our culture. Next, the culture of a community is said to deteriorate when? Deteriorate when, very clearly mentioned, there is a fall in its educational standards, the family life fails to play its part, there is universal education, it adopts the modern system of instruction. So here is the answer. The family life fails to play its part. We can see very clearly written over here. It is an aggregate of customs, institution, manners, standards, tastes, morals, and beliefs. Now, these are transmitted rather by the family than by the school. Hence, when family life fails to play its part, we must expect our culture to deteriorate. Okay, so it is supported by the passage as well. Okay, now the culture of a community is transmitted more by school than by family, more by family than school, equally by both, by the peer group. So what is supporting, which option is supported by the passage? Okay, fails to part, we must expect our culture to deteriorate. Okay, so hence this implies that it is supported more by family than school. Okay, it's more because it's clearly mentioned over here. The culture is made visible in their arts, their social. Okay, it is an aggregate of customs, manners. Now these are transmitted rather by family than by school. So both the answers we got from this particular portion. So this is the correct answer. So here, this is how we are going to solve our passages, and we are going to at least have 30 passages, combination of short and long passages for our practice. Okay, so thanks for watching the video.